Former President Donald Trump has now been informed he is indeed the target of the Justice Department's investigation into the deadly Capitol attack on January 6th and those efforts to interfere with the 2020 election. Trump confirming on social media he did receive a target letter from special counsel Jack Smith. Now, sources tell ABC News that before that letter was even sent, federal prosecutors questioned witnesses about Trump's alleged efforts to actually create fake electors who would essentially hand Trump wins in 7 key states that Joe Biden actually won. Trump has long insisted he's done nothing wrong. Join me once again, our senior national correspondent, Terry Moran, here on set with me in Washington, along with our senior congressional correspondent, Rachel Scott, who's in South Carolina. We've got our Jay O'Brien, who covers the Hill, and then Asha Rangappa, ABC News legal contributor and assistant dean of Yale Jackson School of Global Affairs. Terry, let's start with you. And just this extraordinary move by special counsel. We did sort of expect this, didn't expect it today, but this is really unprecedented territory. And it's not just possibly a third indictment he faces. There's still another investigation out there where he could face a 4th.
Right. If you're
indictment.
keeping score, this is 3 of possibly 4. There was the New York case paying hush money to a former mistress. There was the classified docs out of Mar-a-Lago. Now this one focusing on the 2020 election and the insurrection at the Capitol, and the people in Georgia, the district attorney in Georgia, looking at Trump's effort to give me 11,000 votes there. It's huge. And what this indicates, the target letter being sent to Donald Trump, that is the special counsel taking a step that prosecutors take in the federal system. They let the target of an investigation know that essentially an indictment is imminent. It's the last chance to either cut a deal or convince prosecutors and the grand jury not to indict you. That's not going to happen. Trump is going to be indicted again. His legal jeopardy is considerable because Smith is known as a very careful prosecutor. What this signals is that he's got enough evidence, he believes, to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Donald Trump not only attacked the democracy by saying the election was rigged when it wasn't, but that he committed crimes against the United States in doing so. And this is really the biggest of all the trials, the biggest charges.
And Asha, it's, we keep talking about the legal jeopardy, but right now it's not impacting him politically at all.
Well, I don't know how this is going to impact him politically. I mean, at some point, I would think that it's going to at least sap him of some of the time and energy that he can use to campaign. I mean, let's remember that he's now facing charges in 3 different jurisdictions. He's facing them in New York City, now in Florida, and then it looks like in D.C. coming up. And then we may see charges, I think we will likely see charges coming forward in Fulton County, Georgia. So whether or not the public perception is going to impact him, it's certainly going to take away from his ability to be an effective candidate. So we'll see how that turns out.
Now, Rachel, you've been following, I guess, the other man of the hour. We've been talking a lot about Florida Governor Ron DeSantis cutting back on his campaign while he's on the trail, laying off staffers, blowing through his cash. You've had a chance to talk to him about that. Also, Trump. Yeah. So bring us up to date.
Yeah, Governor Ron DeSantis is trying to jumpstart his campaign, starting right here in South Carolina. He's betting big on these key early voting states. But while he was laying out his new policy agenda when it comes to the military, he did take a few questions. And just moments before that, the news broke about Trump and this target letter. So I had an opportunity to ask him whether or not he believes that Trump bared some responsibility for what happened on January 6th. Take a listen.
So look, there's a difference between being brought up on criminal charges and doing things like, for example, I think it was shown how he was in the White House and didn't do anything while things were going on. He should have come out more forcefully, of course that. But to try to criminalize that, that's a different issue entirely.
So a very fine line that you see that he's walking there, this sort of delicate balance by saying that he believes that the justice system is being weaponized for political purposes, while also saying that maybe there's more that Trump could have done. Maybe he should have spoke more forcefully. And this is sort of the balance that we are seeing ripple throughout the entire Republican field, because DeSantis, like the other candidates, they know Trump is still deeply popular, especially in states like right here in South Carolina. He's still the front runner in this race. And so they're not trying to turn off or turn away some of the voters that they would need to peel away in order to clinch the nomination, Kira.
So then how does Ron DeSantis think that he can steal away those votes? I mean, Terry and I were talking, wondering, why doesn't he just come forward and say, that's who you don't want, I'm the person you do want? But like you mentioned, everyone's afraid to rock the Trump boat.
Yeah, there are very few candidates that have actually gone there, right? We're talking about former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson has said that this is completely unacceptable, that this should not best represent the future of the Republican Party. We have not seen Florida Governor Ron DeSantis go that far, and it's interesting being inside of some of his events. I was at a town hall. He got so many questions about Trump, still very slow to criticize him.
What about up on the Hill, Jay? What's the buzz?
You ask about rocking the Trump vote. Well, one group that is very reticent to do that are congressional Republicans, particularly congressional Republican leadership. They got questions all day long reacting to this news about Donald Trump. I want to play you a little bit of what Kevin McCarthy, Steve Scalise said, and then some Democrats on the back end of that. Here's that.
So what do they do now? Weaponize government to go after their #1 opponent. It's time and time again. I think the American public is tired of this. They want to see equal justice, and the idea that they utilize this to go after those who politically disagree with them.
There's little doubt that former President Trump was very specifically and granularly involved in trying to overturn the results of the legitimate presidential election that he lost.
So that was Kevin McCarthy, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. We also heard from Steve Scalise, who's the #2 Republican in the House, who said that this calls into question whether or not former President Trump was treated fairly. So the highest echelons of House Republicans coming to the former president's defense. We also heard today from former members of the January 6th committee, and they got questions from reporters, including myself, of if this would have been possible, if the special counsel would have gotten this far without the committee's work. They demurred on that, but Adam Schiff, who was a high-profile member of that committee, said in part that the committee did, quote, unearth evidence that the Justice Department could not ignore. Kira.
But Terry, at the end of the day, he can be indicted once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. He can still win the presidency.
He could win the presidency. He could even serve from federal prison. And theoretically, although there's a little bit more argument about this, could he pardon himself? The Constitution only has 3 requirements to be president. You have got to be native-born American, you have to be 35 years of age, and you need to have lived in the United States for 14 years. And the Supreme Court has said you cannot add qualifications for office to the ones that are in the Constitution. So it is an unprecedented situation. And what we've seen is the politicians aren't going to do it on the Republican side. They're hoping that a jury will or someone, because they aren't taking them on.
I don't think our founding fathers ever thought that we would have somebody like a Donald Trump facing almost 4 indictments, possibly, right? And this, yeah, he's changing the history books, that's for sure. Terry, Jay, Asha, thank you all so much. Appreciate it. And Rachel, of course, out there with Ron DeSantis. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.